Hey everyone, my name is Yanira Cavazos and I'm an LPC from the state of Texas. So in today's video, I'm going to help you prep and study for the NCE. I know how difficult it can be, and if you stay toward the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you all about how you can help me advocate for some changes to be made so that we can continue to improve things for the people in our career field, because so many counselors in training are failing this exam and are having to repeat this multiple times because of lack of information. I get so beyond excited when counselors in training email me back as an update and let me know that they've passed the NCE. It makes me want to cry, especially for those who have taken it multiple times and haven't been able to pass and are finally able to pass. That means everything to me. So let's go ahead and get into it. Grab your journal, grab your notebook, your laptop, whatever you want to use to take some notes today. And let's go ahead and get you ready to take the NCE. Yep, you're doing it. You are doing it. You're one step closer to getting this out of the way so that you can finally be a counselor. So step one is mindset. Getting the mindset right, because if we don't get our mindset right, then the anxiety will just take over. It can be so overwhelming. So from the get-go, just know you are not the exception. You can pass this exam. And the only reason that maybe you haven't been able to in the past, or if this is your first time taking it, this doesn't apply, but the only reason why you haven't been able to pass it is because of missing information and not having a strategy in place. And I'm gonna give that to you today, whether you book a consultation with me or not, because that is an extra. That is something that I do because everyone learns differently. Mindset wise from the get-go, just know I am not the exception. I can pass this exam. I am knowledgeable. Part of the affirmations and how we need to start talking to ourselves, right? I am intelligent. I am wise. I can pass and take this exam. Yeah, it's difficult, but I made it through my master's program. I can do difficult things. I really hope you feel encouraged. Let's go ahead and now get into the other steps. The most important thing going into taking the NCE, the National Counselor Exam, is strategy. If you do not have a strategy going into this, it is very hard for you to pass, for any of us to pass. I do not want you to take this exam just winging it. Some people take this exam during grad school. Me personally, I could not have done that. I needed to have just a piece of time where I was not working. I could just dedicate myself to this. May not be the case for everyone, but it surely was the case for me. So the National Counselor Exam does not reflect everything that you will be doing as a counselor once you finish taking this exam. Again, I'm going to keep it real with you all. I'm going to be honest. I don't use all of the information that I was tested on in the NCE, because once you become a therapist, a licensed counselor, you choose the approaches and the tools that you use with your clients. And so we are getting tested on a very comprehensive level. There are so many different theories, approaches, so much information that we're being tested on. So just know if you're struggling to retain a lot of this is normal for all of us. So the most important thing you need to do before beginning studying for this exam is going to the NBCC website and getting informed on what to expect. I'm going to talk to you about that today, but definitely go directly to their website after you watch this video and download that NCE content outline that they have on their website and have that for you as you're studying. The biggest piece of information that you need to know on there is the number of questions that are being tested on, how this exam is being scored, and I repeat, how this exam is being scored, because that will tell you how you're going to study. Over the past 2 years, when I've met with consultation clients who I'm helping strategize for this exam, almost none of them have known this piece of information, and none of them have really known what it means. And I feel like they truly represent us as counselors, because fresh coming out of our grad school program and having no intro to this, unless your grad school program did, but most don't, we're fresh out of here. We don't know what we're doing. And of course, course, you're thinking, let me go onto the website and get this information, right? Because why wouldn't the website prepare me with everything that I need to know? And so the one biggest missing component from this NBCC outline, which is part of the advocacy that I'm gonna ask you all for help with at the end, is that they do not provide us with the range of the number of questions that are being tested from the content areas. They provide us this from the domain areas, but if you look at most of your study materials, it is divided by content areas and not by domains. And so a lot of this might seem like a little mumbo jumbo unless you go and read this content outline for yourself. So definitely have that with you, because the way this test is scored is that each content area and each domain area has a certain number of questions that are being tested from those areas. So one core area might have 49 questions that you're being tested on. Another area might have 15 questions that you're tested on. And imagine if you didn't know this information, and as you're studying, you focused more on studying on that area that only had 15 questions that it was testing you on, instead of focusing on the core area that had 40 or 50 questions. This has been one of the biggest reasons why up to 60% of counselors in training have failed this exam or have had to repeat it multiple times. You heard that right, 60%. If that doesn't piss you off or make you angry, I hope by the end of this video that you are, because that makes me so angry. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to change that. I'm ready for counselors in training to stop having to give their money continuously to this. This is not okay and it needs to change. And this is our way of getting that movement going and of making these changes, of preparing you so you know what to expect. So that piece of information that I gave you is going to be your number one strategy going into this exam. When you are planning out how you're going to study, I want you to focus on the core areas that carry the more bulk of questions that you are going to be tested on. Now, don't get me wrong, you need to study everything. You need to study everything, because that one rando question that's being tested from the assessments section, for example, could make the difference, because maybe you're really great at assessment. So we need to study everything, but we need to place the most study time on the core areas that have the most questions that they're pulling from, because if you focus and dedicate your time more on that, there's more questions on there, right? And that could mean the difference between you passing. A lot of the counselors in training that I work with have missed it from anywhere between 1 to 10 questions multiple times, because they don't have this information and NBCC hasn't provided us with that information on their content outline. And if anyone from NBCC watches this video, please update this content outline and have this information for us, because it makes the difference between counselors passing or failing. And I know this to be true because it has made the difference between the counselors that I've worked with passing finally. So here on the screen for you all, I am going to give you my hours and hours of research that have gone into getting this information and this video out for you all, and it makes me so excited. So here on screen, I am sharing with you in the order that the content core areas are being tested, which means if you see these top sections over here, these samples of score numbers I've gotten online. I've also gotten from other counselors who have taken this exam. So think of this more as a range. So I don't want you to focus on that, oh, in this content core area, 50 questions are going to be tested on, because that might not be the case, sadly. I wish things were different when it came to this exam and they just had straightforward, every time you can expect 50 questions from this area will be tested. Do I think that that's how things should be? 100%. 100%. But because it's not, I want to mentally prep you going into this to expect a range where it can be anywhere between like 30 to 50 questions, for example. But the one thing that we know to be true is that this is the number one core area that has the most questions asked, and I'm ranking them in order for you so you know where to focus your time and energy the most. Again, I cannot say this enough. We need to study everything, right? But give the most time and energy to the core areas that you're going to be tested on the most, which now leads me into materials, right? Study tools. what do I use to study with? If you look at all of the study tools that you have, I want you to notice, start being observant and ask yourself, is this divided by the core areas or is this divided by the domains? And what you will tend to find is that most of them are divided by the core areas. So this right here on screen is what I used to study with, and I'm gonna go ahead and share some other study materials with you on screen. And these are not ones that I've used. These are ones that other counselors have used and they've told me that they really liked, that were really helpful for them. So at the end of the day, I want you to know that the study materials that you're using, they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. But the main issue is that if you don't have the strategy going into taking this exam, as good as your study materials are, as many hours as you put into studying, unless you find yourself in a more like privileged situation, like for example, you don't have to work, you don't have other responsibilities, and you can just dedicate months to studying, then this might not apply to you. But I'm trying to speak to the student who maybe doesn't have that, and a majority of students don't have that. Time management doesn't matter if we don't have a strategy. Time management doesn't matter if we don't know what to study and what to use our time and energy for. So on the content outline, we can see that the NCE test is comprised of 200 multiple choice questions. Of those, 160 are scored and 40 are unscored. So those other 40 questions are just meant to provide statistical information for the items to be used in future exams. And both scored and unscored items are of the same structure. They appear in a jumbled order in the examination too. So you don't really know which are which is great, right? Just add to our anxiety a little bit more is the first thing that pops into your mind. And it also lets us know that it gives us a little bit of wiggle room where some of the questions that maybe we got wrong weren't even counted. So again, that should also help your mindset. And now that you have your strategy, so according to the NCC, they give us 3 hours and 45 minutes to take this exam. From my opinion, as someone who's a bit more of a slow reader, I like to take my time and reread questions sometimes. That's how my anxiety shows up. I might have to read a question multiple times and kind of try to relax myself as I'm taking this exam. And so if you're someone who relates to that, just know you have plenty of time and some time to spare too, some extra time. I even took a bathroom break. If you watch my really old video of how my experience went with the NCE when I took my exam, if you take this exam, please keep your scores. Please always keep your scores, because on there you're going to be able to see how many questions per each core area were asked of you, and you can prove this to yourself as well when you see that how certain areas receive more questions that are tested on. So always keep your scores. The maximum possible score on the NCE is 160, and NBCC determines the minimum passing score, which varies between versions using a modified Angoff procedure. The NCE is not scored on a curve, so your passing score is not influenced by other examinees' results, but you can compare your score to national results with the NCE statistical summary. And so lastly, what I want to talk to you all about, now that you have your strategy in place, now that you have your mindset right and you're working on your self-talk and your affirmations, trust me, do not sleep on that. Like, we need to get our mindset right when we're going into this exam, because if we already feel like, no, I'm not gonna pass, no, this is hard, what if I don't have the time to study? You know, just like we teach our therapy clients, right? All of these beliefs impact how we feel, impact what we think, impact our behavior. So if we want to have different behavior, we need to start modifying the way that we're talking to ourselves. And that's really hard to do when you failed this exam and you just feel like, you know what, I'm a failure. I'm not good enough to do this. And what I always say to my consultation clients is, you are not the problem. This exam and the lack of information that we're given is the problem. You can do this. I know you can do this. So we have all of that ready, right? It's time to now study. And so number one, your materials. get those ready, and I want you to think about anywhere between 2 to 3 study materials tops. I don't want you to do more than that. Don't focus on doing more, because then your mind's just going to be all over the place. I ended up going with 1 study material and just studying in different ways. So I used the purple book to study. I studied by listening to the audio of it. I studied by writing down things as I was listening to the audio and as I was reading. And so you do not need multiple study tools to pass this. So personally, if you were my bestie, right, and I was sitting with you and helping you study for this, I would be like, 2 tops, okay? 2 tops. Do not do more than that. You don't need to add more pressure. If anything, you need to simplify your studying. You need to simplify it so your time and energy can be used wisely, because we're already trying to strategize here. So if we give you so much to study from, it is so easy to get lost in that completely. And then before you know it, you're like, wait, am I even retaining what I'm studying? Because I'm over here trying to just do so much. What I've seen that works really well for a lot of counseling students is they like having the purple book, or one big bulky book that has all of the core areas broken down for you and all of the information needed. And then they utilize apps that have sample questions. And the combination of that, having some sample questions, has been something that's been really helpful. And honestly, it's something that I would have loved to have, and that I think would have been really helpful for me, knowing what to expect and what some of these questions will sound like. You can also take practice exams if that's something that you like doing. But again, think simplicity when it comes to studying for this. Have your study materials and then actually sit down and make a plan of when you're going to study, how you're going to study, with who are you going to study. Is it just going to be you? All I had was me, and that was good for me, but because that's how I enjoy studying. Do you need to have a study partner? Do you need to go study with other students? Truly treat this like you would treat a course or a class in grad school, and pretending like it's another class, right? You're trying to study and put in the time and effort into doing this so that you can walk into this exam and pass and move on with your life and get to do what you actually want to do, which is be a counselor. We've reached the end of the video, everyone. I really hope that you found this helpful. So next is the advocacy, right? If you're already a counselor, if you've taken this exam and you failed multiple times, I'm going to put on screen a sample email that you can help me write to NBCC, and I'm also going to add it down in my description box area so you can go ahead and copy paste and send this to them. I would really appreciate your help with them, because my couple emails maybe don't make a difference, but all of our emails combined and sent to them around the same time, I know that they're going to be reading this and be like, where are all these emails coming from? What is happening here? We need to pay attention, because there is a large number of people who are bringing this up. Make no mistake that we have the power to change things. I have been seeing a lot of changes come about with the Texas State Board. Our advocacy is not a waste of time, and we're stronger together. We can get shit done. We can get things done together. So I really appreciate you watching this video. Take care, everyone. Good luck with your exam, and I will go ahead and talk to you all in my next video. Bye.